Subscribe to the Artie Lang Uncensored podcast at artiequitter.com.
When you see Larry David's work, and what you and him did with Curb Your Enthusiasm is so amazing. Like I remember he was shooting that pilot, and you see, he's trying to just keep busy or something, and then it turns into such a classic. And,
well, thank you. It's a surprise and an honor to be involved with a show that's as beloved as that. That's really cool. I know. It's unbelievably cool. It's what I dreamed about as a kid.
You mean my podcast?
Yes.
No, you should be so proud of this, Jeff. Because look, Susie Essman is so brilliant in it. Your face when she's yelling is worth an Emmy right there. She is so fucking. I saw her at Jeff Ross's 50th birthday party at the Friars Club, and I had to go out. She was so nice, first of all. Nice to me. I didn't even know she would know who I am. But I had to compliment her. I said, "You and Jeff Garlin on that show. It's just unreal." She goes, "Oh, thank you." And then Stewie Stone cockblocked me.
That's a funny reference. No one is getting. No one or their next door neighbor who's listening to the show is remotely getting that. That's hilarious.
Stewie Stone came up to me with a full mouth and said, "I'm opening for Frankie Valli." I said, "Thanks." That's big news. We're in 1962. That's big news. Thanks, Stu. Let me know your other dates.
I don't think those words have ever been said. Stewie Stone cockblock.
Jeff Ross is my favorite because his 50th birthday, I said, "Jeff, I feel like we're 84 years old." Nobody, but I loved it about, because who wants to see the hip people? I don't want to hear about who's got killed at Largo with their one-man show. It's Stewie Stone talking about opening up for Frankie Valli. And Susie Essman was such a sweetheart, and that is such a classic. The way you guys look at her when she's yelling, especially Larry David, he's scared. He doesn't know what to do.
I know. Well, it is. I mean, if you imagine a woman really like that, it's not hard to look at someone and go, "What the fuck?"
Imagine, I just got to call my mother.
By the way, Richard Lewis loves you.
Let me tell you something about Richard Lewis. He's the reason I always wanted, Belushi and Bill Murray and those guys made me want to do sketch comedy. And I'm younger, so Eddie Murphy, too. Who's more talented than that fucking guy? But,
funniest person I ever met.
Pluto Nash aside. I mean, listen, Eddie Murphy's the kind of guy who could be funny and then turn off the spigot in a second. Like, the funniest guy ever, then just, okay, let's calm down.
No, his skill level is beyond anyone I've ever met.
Unreal. But the first special of Richard Lewis, when I was 17 years old, and it's at the Improv on Melrose, and the two oddest celebrities are together at a table laughing at him. It's Roy Firestone from ESPN, and the guy who played Laverne's father on Laverne and Shirley.
Yeah, he was a comic. I forgot the dude's name.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was a comic. He was an old-time comic.
What an odd front row. But
by the way, Roy Firestone makes it. By the way, and also during that show, they cut it out. Roy asked Richard a few questions, and he cried.
Are you kidding?
Thank you for laughing.
And then great reference. And then Richard knocked him over the table with the Rams quarterback.
with Jim Everett. He used Jim Everett to knock him over.
That was Jim Rome.
That was Jim Rome, too, I know.
I took it into the gutter. But that special, Jeff, and look, the first time I saw you, Jeff, you were in a hockey jersey on the Conan O'Brien show paneling, and I had the same reaction. It was before Arsenio Hall kind of ruined it with everybody's got a woof woof and Leno running into the audience and high. Why did Leno do that? I mean, Leno was so talented, but he didn't have to go in and woof woof. Talk shows used to be like you two guys, you and Conan having just two witty, fun guys having a conversation.
Well, by the way, when I go back on any of these shows, that's the only way I do it. I won't even do I do very little pre.
Good for you. I've been killing on Conan for almost 20 years, and Frank Smiley still goes, "Okay, that's 8 stories. All right, what else you got? Anything happen?"
Yeah. By the way, I used to all the time. I'm not going to. I'll say this. I don't care.
Listen, Jeff.
Smiley,
the only people hearing this are going to be my cousins.
Would prepare me. He's an excellent producer, but he would prepare me in a way where I felt I'm writing a segment, and it's like, no, I'm a guest. I don't need to do the work.
Right. Of course, that's what I mean.
I actually now don't have Frank interview me.
Well, I've got to tell you, I love Frank, but first of all, when you have the same job in show business for 30 years, you're like, you might be doing something wrong. All right. But he says to me, he goes, 8 stories, Jeff. 8 killer stories. I'm like, what? What else do I have? Who am I? David
No, but
Sedaris?
but by the way, that's what he does.
Yeah.
And by the way, he prepared me really well for the segments.
Right.
But that's not my style. My style is to go out and just riff.
Well, no, me too. Well, here's the joke. I'll tell you what. The kid at Letterman almost stopped me from saying something to Letterman that is the hardest he ever laughed because he thought it was. I guess Letterman put the fear of God in those guys. Here's the joke that this kid said, don't do to Dave, right? And that's not even a joke. It's the only time my family said something that I didn't have to punch up. It was that brilliant. And he was didn't know he was being funny. My Uncle Sonny, the last 5 years of his life, Italian guy, worked construction. Last 5 years of his retired life, he ate wet mozzarella like an apple. He would sit in front of the TV and watch every TV show. His favorite show, true story, was Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So me and my cousins always wondered why. One day I got up to courage. I said, Uncle Son, what is this show Buffy the Vampire Slayer about? Well, with a full mouth of mozzarella, he said, dead serious. It's a Jew broad fights Draculas. It might be the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, come on. That's hilarious.
It might be the funniest thing a human being's ever said. I was like, Uncle Son, you should really write for the TV Guide the synopsis of everything. Jew broad fights Dracula. Jew broad. He had to watch the end of the show and see her name, Geller, and figured she was Jewish. And he turns vampires to Dracula, and it's plural. Jew broad fights Dracula. There's not an ounce of fat on that joke. It's like perfect. A team like Larry Gelbart and your show of show guys cannot make that joke better. So I say I pitch it to the guy because I know Letterman loves stuff like that too, like old Family Guy.
Well, real stuff.
Right, real
Genuine.
stuff. That's a good point. Exactly, that's how you put it, real stuff. And I pitch it to this kid, and he's like, no, it's too risky. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm like, did you say that out loud to Letterman? He's like, and the greatest thing was he didn't, so he didn't ruin it in a way. Because, these guys, the other thing, Jeff, is these guys pitch a story. They could ruin the story,
Of course.
Yeah. So I said, fuck it. I was doing very well. I was killing. I was a really good. And I said, I'm going to throw this in there. And right before he was about to say my plugs, and I crowbarred that in, he laughed like you just did, Jeff. He's belly laughing. And at the end, he goes,
by the way, that will be one of your greatest memories of your life.
I have a still photograph in my room, right above me and Danny making out. But no,
but it is. But see, now you just hit on something. That's what talk shows were.
Yes,
people being genuine.
Right.
They were real moments.
Yep.
And either somebody was funny, like Rickles or whatever.
Oh yeah, sure.
Or you're not funny. That's the thing too. Why they do? Do you know why they do these fucking pre-interview shit?
Right.
You know why?
No, why?
Because actors can't tell a story to save their life.
That's a great point, too. I'm sweating telling stories, and then the first guest is Emma Stone, who has an anecdote about her hair. And I'm like, wait. Dead silence. Dead silence.
By the way, I don't know if you know this, dating Stewie Stone.
Why go on after that? That's got to be the last line of the interview. That's fucking hilarious. Oh, that's funny.